Hello, and welcome to the Cosmic Healing Podcast. I am really fired up about this conversation today because I personally have been very curious and interested about learning more about astrocartography. I'm just learning to say that word correctly. I massacre it every single time. But this is, well, I'll let our guest, Kylene Alvich, explain all of it to us. I met Kylene through our wonderful, beloved guest that we have, Tammy Lip. She connected us, and I know that this conversation is divinely guided because once I was connected to you, Kylene, I had so many people. Astrocartography has been coming up more and more and more in conversation. And so I just know that this is a topic that we are all super curious about now. So hello, and welcome.
Hi, thank you. I'm so excited to share this with everybody.
Yeah.
Uh,
So tell us, first of all, what is astrocartography?
Astrocartography is where all the planets were aligned at the time of your birth, but we usually recognize that as our natal chart in astrology, as we're on the planet, and at the moment of our birth, we can see the planets above us and where they're aligning. This is more of an aerial view looking down at from way outside of the universe, looking down at the planet as to where the planets of, everything, Mars, Uranus, Venus, where they're all lying on the planet the moment that you're born, and how where each of those planetary lines that they create are they can become activated when you visit them, because all of the planets want to be a part of your story. And depending on where you are in the world, those different planetary lines can be activated according to your own natal chart, since we all know that they are in different areas of your chart at that time. So it shows how they can manifest for you depending on where you are.
Yeah, that makes me so excited because the more healing work I do for myself, the more I understand that my healing work has so much to do also with healing Mother Earth, healing Gaia. And I am just so connected to her and her energy and her frequency and how she has really been um taken advantage of. She has been suppressed, her energy. She is also a divine feminine energy that is rising just with all of us as our divine feminine energy is healing and rising. I feel her moving up through my feet more than ever. Like it is just so bold and she's so loud, and it really will take us connecting to her, feeling that healing frequency and being able to carry that healing frequency everywhere that we go. So knowing that there are specific areas that I'm supposed to be to help grid this healing frequency into Mother Earth feels really good to me, which I'm pretty sure that's probably why I've been so drawn to this, because it's like, where am I supposed to be healing, Mother Earth? Like where on a cosmic level, on an astrological level, am I being called to go to literally grid in that healing frequency that I exist, that exists within me, that is meant to be carried through me. So how do you go about discovering that?
So when I'm doing a chart of, first of all, there are no, like, I want to make sure everybody knows there are no bad places. Like, there's a lot of information that's out on the internet, that is kind of like, find your good places, find your bad places. There are no bad places. Everywhere is just, it's like taking a holistic approach, and it's what's more challenging for you, what's going to benefit, because like I said, every single one of those planetary lines wants to express at some point in your life so that you can grow in that area that is also going to be reflected in your astrology chart. So first thing I do is run your natal chart And I typically ask if there's anywhere that you feel drawn to, because a lot of people, when they have an intuitive draw to an area, there's usually some kind of energy that's reflected in their chart, in the map. Because when we go to that area, your chart changes. And then we look at your relocated chart and see what's going on at the local level, and then look at the planetary lines. It's kind of like layers of an onion. There's many of them. There's many different lines. There's many different energies that get activated. And yeah, I try to start off like at the very basics, because it can get really overwhelming, especially when you start adding in things like cyclocartography, which is a section of astrocartography that looks at transits and timing of going to these places.
Mhm.
Um, but at the basic level, I really focus on like where it is in the world that these different stories might activate for you. And I always ask people, you know, what is most important to you right now? So is relationships, are, you know, fostering career development, that those different areas, you can't always have everything at once. So wherever you're focused on right now, maybe it's either you're traveling to that space, or you're looking to move somewhere different. Seeing what's going to happen in those areas, or what areas of the planet would be best for you to be of service, so that you can activate those different areas in your chart.
Right. Okay. That makes perfect sense. So I have shared my chart with you, my birth information with you, so we can use me as a reference, as we're discussing this, because I personally know nothing about it. You were just here to teach us and to show us the way and what is possible. And I definitely have several questions. So I'm excited to learn about this and how it all aligns.
Okay, so do you want me to go ahead? I can share the screen and I'll bring up your
Yeah.
natal chart first, because I
Okay.
usually go to the chart and then I'll go to the map.
Okay.
Uh,
Perfect.
here.
Yeah. I mean, while you're doing that, I attempted to pull up my astro chart at one time and I was like, "Ooh, it is quite overwhelming for someone that has no idea." I was like, we can figure this out. I was with my sister and I was like, we can figure this out. We'll, go on YouTube and and I like looked at it and like my brain literally exploded. So I'm already in awe of you for understanding and teaching this stuff.
So when you're looking at your chart, the person who taught me had a very great description that I like to share people with. So it's kind of like you're looking at your chart as if this is a play or a movie. And each of these different pieces are different settings in the play. The planets are like the actors. So that's how they act in your personal chart. The signs that they are under are the character that the planet behaves as. And then the aspects, which are these crazy looking lines in the middle, are how these different characters, what their relationships are like. So in the case of astrocartography, this is your natal chart. This is the basis for everything. And like I said, when you relocate, things shift. Everything, your how the characters interact with each other, what planets are where they are, what signs are under stays the same. The houses change. So the setting changes. And so by doing that, things become activated in that way. Um, I don't know, just verify first, making sure that um, your sun is in Cancer and your ascendant is in Cancer.
Correct. Yep.
Okay. And I do my charts whole sign. Just I know that there's different ways of doing it, Placidus and everything. That's how I do all of my readings. So in case things might look a little different from what you've seen. Um, so here we know that Cancer is very nurturing, maternal. The first house, that's you. Interestingly, as I'm going through this, looking into and I'm just going to be very brief going through here, because I know that you've probably had readings before. but I want to get to the map so that we can see what this looks like. Um, you have your Mercury and Venus in Leo in the second house, which is all about your income and finances. And it's interesting because it's kind of telling a story of making money in a way that's with playful communication and creativity. And with Venus there, it's all very much centered around women. So I love that. That's hanging out there.
Yeah,
And
I feel so seen.
and then let's see, we've got the fourth house, which you've got a lot of action going on there. That is of the home, the family, and ancestors. And with Libra in there, it's very balancing. And you've got Pluto, which is transformational energy. And I know I'll get into the map in a minute, but there's a lot of also people believe that Pluto lines are scary because it's transformation. And that's not necessarily a scary thing. That's not a bad thing. I love Pluto lines. I love Chiron in there. We'll get to that. But
I love
um,
Chiron.
you have, we have the emotions with the moon and mothering and nurturing and a little bit of spontaneity in there with Uranus. So we've got like we have a lot of energy focused in this house. So anytime there's more than like three planets in there, 2 to 3, we're getting a lot of focused energy. Let's see. So we've got Neptune in the sixth. So that's a lot of spiritual activity surrounding like your pleasure house, your creativity, your health activity, all of that. So we've got that going on. And as we go up, we've got your Jupiter is in Aquarius in the eighth house, which is of shared income, you and a spouse, or you and a business partner. Unique opportunities tend to manifest in this area when you have Jupiter in Aquarius. So wherever this is going to move to is going to just have a manifestation of like unique things that may happen because Aquarius is kind of unique and in that nature. And then we have going over here, you have your Mars in Aries, which is extremely driven in career in the 10th house, which is, of your career. Sometimes some people can say in the other end, it could be argumentative. But this is very much not so much for you because your Mars is in a spot where it is much happier. And it's at home here. And it's kind of a lucky line for you in the way of it has double the strength, but in a way of ease. So in your chart, Jupiter is your benefic, Mars is your malefic, but it is not as malefic as it is. It's much more of a driver for you. And then we've got Chiron in there as well. So that's the warrior wounded energy where you're healing and transforming in that way as well, which is directly across from your Pluto here. So there's a lot of excellent energy going on in that area. But also your nodes. I don't know if you know the story of your nodes because your nodes are very much your karma and your past lives. And that's a very excellent line. There are certain lines on the map that will tell you about your past lives as well. And so for you, your story is very much about, let's see, you've got your South node in Cancer and your North node in Capricorn. So you're shifting from your emotional comfort zones in Cancer to discipline and achievement. So it's kind of building structure and setting goals, embracing responsibility and leadership, and balancing personal and professional life, if that rings any bells.
Yeah, ding, ding, ding. Yeah, that is me in a nutshell.
So this is the basis of your entire map at the local level, like at the street view, what it's called. So I'll show you. I have to stop my share and go into the map. this is your map. This is where your planetary lines were when you were born. And it looks kind of like a crazy bunch of spaghetti because each planet has 4 aspects. So each one of the planets has 4 lines on the map. The ascendant, the AS, is all about you, your sense of self. The MC, which you'll see up here at the top, that is your career, your public image. The IC at the bottom is your personal life, family, ancestry. And then we have the descendant, which is over here on the side as well. And that's all about your personal relationships and meeting others. So, and it can get crazier because there's a lot more lines that can go into this, but this is like the basic astrocartography map for you. I'm going to zoom in on your birth area. Let's see if it'll let me go in here and where you are now. And bring up the names of your birth city. Okay. So you're born almost directly on your Pluto IC, which is your personal life, your family, your ancestry. Now they say that IC lines in general are all about possible past life energy. And for someone to be either born near an IC line, especially this Pluto transformative IC line, like you were born in the specific place where you needed to be to just start your transformation on this planet. Like this is where you were meant to be put in.
That's so cool.
And your Mars MC. So what I'm going to tell you is there's a orb of influence. While this line looks like it's way out here, you do not need to live directly or be near directly the lines. In fact, it's actually kind of better to be kind of away from them because the energy is very concentrated when you get under 200 miles. So the orb of influence is 700, but I feel like more 500 miles is like an area where you're going to feel this energy of wherever you travel to or where you're living. So this Mars line that's out here is even all the way in Georgia is still an influence for you. And the Mars MC is all about drive, ambition, and MC is your career and your public image. So it's very much playing into who you are specifically. And we can see that in your chart, but you can definitely see that on the map. Like it's right here. And all the way over here is a sun ascendant line. Sun ascendant lines are fun. They are playful. They are you. It is energy that I typically tend to send people to when they go on vacation, because they're like having a great time. This is it. I'm like the sun. I'm shining, and yours is actually, yeah, it's still going to be in effect over here in South Carolina, but where you are now, it's much closer. So it's that energy is shining into who you are, where you are right now.
So that's pretty much like that white line right there that's over there on the bottom. That's the line that you're speaking of that has like a, which is so fun because it's like, so does it cover all that territory?
So yes. So it is it's about 200 miles from where you live now. And all the way down the line. So you could go up to somewhere in like Kentucky and feel that energy of that line.
Yeah.
What comes into play is there are other lines that are called parents that are longitudinal and latitudinal crossings of planets somewhere, not in this spot, somewhere on the globe. And that energy where it crosses sends a line of energy around the globe in a latitudinal line. And I'll go ahead and just stick that in so you can see what that looks like.
Okay.
So right over here.
Oh, okay, I see.
Right here you have a moon and nodes pairing, and these lines, you have to be within 75 miles to feel that energy, whether it's more challenging or beneficial. So it is, and I checked, it's activated where you are now.
Okay.
Because it's only 39 miles away, and it was activated where you were born as well, even though it's not, the name's not showing up on the map. But moon and nodes pairing, it's a strong karmic combination. It's also about meeting with groups of people at an emotional level, helping you to achieve emotional fulfillment, exploring your own emotions with others, and expressing your intuition.
Wow, that's so cool. So basically, I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be, should be. Like this is confirming that I'm where I need to be for everything that I'm doing anyway, right? Like
Right.
to support me and my community that I'm building. And because it's so interesting, like my husband and I talk all the time, especially with my kids are getting older and they're, going off to college and leaving the house. And so we're like, I mean, if we could go anywhere, where would we want to go? And I'm always like, I don't know. Like, I feel really happy right here where we are, like I really can't imagine going anywhere else, at least not right now. So do you have a way of seeing like do things shift when I move, or is there a way to look at the timeline and just say like 5 years from now, actually your chart can be looking this way, or you're actually going to be called to this direction, at another time? Like, how does that work?
So that's timing wise, that's cyclocartography. And so that's looking at, so I'll say this is your natal chart. This is specifically your basis of everything.
Okay.
When you add in cyclocartography, it influences like the timing of things. So like if I were sending someone on a vacation, the energy that might be happening in the cosmos at the moment that they go on this trip could influence whether they have a great trip or maybe not such a great experience. But there is, when you move to a specific spot, the energy becomes more solid in that relocated chart. So it can influence you if you're there for a longer term. But to answer your question, like you can look up like 5 years from now, like what's going to be happening during the transits. But the relocated chart specifically for some other area, that's not going to change. Like it's going to change, like the relocated chart's going to change from your natal chart, but the time for that isn't going to be, that's not going to change with the time.
Okay.
Does
Gotcha.
that make sense?
Yeah. 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 Gotcha. So the lines that are going sideways, is that the point of like the lunar and the everything that you were talking about, like kind of like where it comes together to create that point?
Yeah, these are the parent lines. So that is somewhere on the globe, your node lines are crossing with your moon line and creating this energetic confluence that will spread latitudinally around the globe. So this line will travel all the way around. And the same, so they're different for everybody. Like not everybody's going to have that line because maybe those lines don't cross for them because, when we look at the big picture, some of the lines curve and go up. So it's different for everyone.
Okay. So when you are looking at a chart, or if someone were to put in their information into, like I did, like when I first opened up my astrocartography chart and I looked at it and I was like, oh my God, like what the heck? I don't know any of this. What would be the first like things or points of interest that you would have people guide to explore on their own before they were to say like book a session with you? Like if they just wanted to, if they're listening to this and they're curious, like if they're where they're supposed to be, or like how close, like how would you guide people to connect to that?
So it really depends on their chart. So, and it depends on the aspects in their chart. Like um, your Pluto placement in your chart and the aspects that go to it are not are beneficial places. So if I were to tell somebody, I'd be like, first you might want to look at your natal chart, see where things are for you. Maybe get a reading if you like are confused. Maybe get a reading by somebody, and at least have a printout of what that looks like, so that you can see on the chart, like, because there are places that you can get a free chart printout online. And you can see like where your sun is and what house it's in and what area of life that activates for you. Um, and in general, when I'm telling people like places that they should go to, I'm looking at in their chart what's aspecting their sun. Because usually I tell people that their sun lines are great places to go, but maybe they've got a really harsh aspect with like Mars or something going on in their chart, where for that person that may not be the best place for them. So it's kind of hard to just be like, hey, yeah, just go look up, because I know there's a lot of stuff on like social media. They're like, yeah, this line's great, that line's bad, and which is not true. But it's different for everybody. It what might be a great Venus line for one person may not be a great Venus line for another.
Right. Okay. And so the best way for them to decide that, like you want it to, you want to find the like what is the main thing someone would be looking at in their natal chart to help decipher, just assuming we have a general acknowledgement of astrology, right? So
Mhm.
like if we have a general thing of astrology, and then we can look at our chart and kind of understand what are like the two things that we would want to look at, to be able to say, okay, these are two positive, like where would you decide the positives versus the negatives? Not that there's a bad place, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, what's more challenging? And that also takes into play like what do you want to work on? Like,
Right. Yeah.
do you
Yeah.
really want to, like, I know people, like, I think it's awesome to go to your Pluto line and work on your transformational
Right. Yeah.
stuff, but somebody else may be like, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
But to look at uh an area, and where I would say like trying to figure out what the best places for you would be is um, definitely have an idea of what you're looking for in your life right now. What is that area that you specifically want to work on, whether it be relationships, or career or something like that? Look for that designated house in your chart, because each house is a different aspect. And look at the planets that are in that house. If you have any planets that are in that house, see what's going on with them. And if they are not harshly aspected, that might be a planetary line that you want to consider checking out when you go to your map and be like, okay, I really want to experience my Venus line, like beauty and
So
companionship.
we would be looking more at the planetary line.
Yes.
Right, like, so
Yeah.
when we see the big thing, and so where exactly are the planetary lines on this chart? Like, as we're looking at it right now, like, where is it? if you were to zoom out and show
Mhm.
it and to be like, okay, this is where you're, like, because there's a lot going on the sides and up above and
Yeah. And I haven't even, there's even more lines, like there's midpoint lines. There are other lines that go into this, but if I can zoom out, it gets really crazy. So you've got all these
so
parent lines
crazy.
all over the world. So if you take those out and you just look, these are just your planetary lines.
Okay. Okay, and then each little sign that's there.
So each one of these lines, and there's four for each, like I said, because each one is a different aspect. Like there's the sun AS ascendant, there's the sun MC, which is your career. Like it'll change that area.
Okay. I have a question. I went to Cabo in Mexico,
Okay.
in 2020, and I had such a profound experience. I just was going on a vacation, but it all just kind of aligned perfectly. But I received an incredible whale activation while I was there. Like the whales literally like spoke to me, and ever since then, I just like things are completely different for me from that 2020 me being in Cabo experience. And I've always wondered, like, because it was just so, it was such a like a divinely guided experience. Like the invitation just kind of landed in my lap to go. And then I'd never thought anything about it until like as it was happening, and I was like, oh my God, like that trip was profound for me.
So there's several things that could play into that. So you have, let's see, you do have a Saturn ascendant that's coming through here. There's also timing as well. So your something could have been going on in your transits at that time, but it looks like you have a lot of herons going on in this area, which is interesting. You have a lot of, oh, you have a lot of Chiron and nodes parents going on right here.
Okay. And so that means, I mean, I guess that was 4 years ago. My Chiron was still, because it's like the longest Chiron ever. I think I'm in like a 7 year transit or something like that. It's
So the transits aren't on, like they don't, okay. I'm like trying to figure this out. So the parent lines, they create this energy that is specific to them and not your natal chart. So they behave the same way. If I had this parent on my chart, it would behave the same way as yours because it's just that pairing of those two. So you have a Pluto Chiron parent right here, which is intense. And that's very transformative. Sorry, I'm looking up my notes, but so this is all about healing to one's fears, authenticity, and deeper truths.
okay.
It's intense. It can be sometimes darker, but it's helpful for those who are working in shadow work. So that's for this parent, but then you have these other three, and they all create a story together. Um, the nodes, it's profound spiritual and healing experiences
Wow. So
combined with your Chiron. So a discovering of one's talents, often places where a person can find a healing other person, but I don't think that's, it doesn't have to be a person.
right, right. Yeah. A healing energy. Yeah. Cause it was
Yeah.
definitely the whales, and they healed, they activated. And ever since that moment, like it was really, really profound for me. And I've always just been curious about like, wow, because I had never been drawn to Cabo. I wasn't like, I want to go vacation in Cabo, but the way that it just took me there, I was like, wow, I really needed to have that in my life and experience, and I didn't even know it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That really speaks a lot to that. Did you
Yeah,
want
right?
to,
That's so cool.
did you want to look at your information for Egypt?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
So you asked me like where am I intuitively drawn to? And so Egypt for sure is very strong on my list. I definitely am going through so much spiritually at this time, and Egypt's been on my radar for the past several years, but I knew it wasn't time for me to go. But now I'm like, okay, now I'm approaching that time for me to go. And so I am curious.
This, I was really excited when I was looking through this
Oh,
because
fun.
a lot, there's a lot going on. And so here's how it changes for someone who's looking at this and going, this is your relocated chart in Egypt, and how it changes for you. So it moves your sun all the way up here into your 10th house. But as you can see, all the planets are still in their spots adjacent from each other, except we've just shifted the wheel and moved it according to where you will be located. So,
So even if I'm just there for like, you know, 15 days or whatever, it will adjust, it'll move my chart that much and like it'll adjust it that much for me being
yeah,
there. Wow.
yeah. And especially like if you're there like a couple of days, you may
Yeah.
not notice anything, but being there for like more than a week or even a week, you would tend to feel that energy of coming out of whatever is happening in your chart and on those planetary lines. So in this, where you are, and I put Cairo in here to have a spot. So it shifts your Jupiter in Aquarius to unique opportunities manifesting around creativity and pleasure, and that being expansive and about joy and love, and that's expanding in your 5th house. And it shifts your your emotional up here in the 10th house. So your sun, who you are in Cancer, it gets moved into your career. Um
Wow. Oh my God. That
and
just gave me chills.
it's just awesome. Your playful energy of communicating with women moves to your 11th house of networking and friendships.
Oh, that makes me happy. That's so cool. So I'm curious if at any point I had gone to Egypt prior to when I do go, would that same shift have happened whenever I went, or is it like moving with me and now because of everything I've already done and the way that like maybe even like when I went to Cabo, right? Like I'm assuming that probably shifted something in my chart, like, right?
So this would have happened with you regardless. This is what it is no matter what. Um, there is that other layer, which is the timing. So, which I'm not even getting into because it's like a whole other thing. But that is another layer of like the onion where the timing can sometimes change things because we're thinking about like what planets are transiting right now, what's happening in the cosmos right now. Um, but this is always your chart, no matter when you go to Egypt.
Okay, gotcha. Right, right, right. But I'm saying when I do go to Egypt, it will shift like my
Yeah,
chart a little bit, right? So no matter when I go, that's my chart, but whenever I do go, it will always shift me because it's in my chart to play
right.
that role.
Yep.
Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha.
And then we've got your transformative Pluto in the house of self,
Okay.
of
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
here. So I'm going to go ahead and go to the map so that you can see what this looks like. Um, there's a lot. There's a lot going on.
Wow, that's so fun.
Let me back up out of here. Let's see. Trying to move the map and my little menu is in the way. I just lost my map.
I'm just looking at this and my mind is like, what? And it's just so much information. And I think it's probably literally impossible to do this, at least for my brain to comprehend. It is impossible to do this on my own.
It's a lot.
Yeah, this is a lot of information.
And I'm going to go ahead and get rid of all these extra parent lines for now. So it doesn't look too much like spaghetti. Okay. So this is, let me see if I can bring up my labels here. Okay. So here is Egypt for you. And as you can see, there's a lot of planetary lines happening.
Mhm.
And these are all relatively within influence. Yeah. Some of these, I think this Venus one may not be in. Depends on where you are. But you have a moon ascendant, a Mercury MC, which is career, a Chiron descendant, a Uranus ascendant. Like we've got all of these lines happening for you while you are in Egypt. And they tell a story. So it's kind of like they're all the players in the play and they're all coming together and they're telling a story of what happens when you're in this space. We have the moon ascendant, which is one of the closest ones. And the moon ascendant is all about the mothering of the self, comfort, feeling at home, intuition, and the unseen. So we have that energy in play. The Mercury MC, which is also right here, and these are very close. It inspires learning around the career, studying, teaching, writing, publication, communication. It's very supportive of the voice, and increased awareness and the mind being awoken. So that's all happening in this area for you. Then we have the Chiron descendant. So the descendant is all about personal relationships and meeting others. Chiron, it's very much healing around relationships. You can also help others heal at this location, as well as receive healing for yourself. So that's what that line speaks into. And then we have the Uranus ascendant over here, which is very lively and interesting. You can have surprising breakthroughs. It's in your ascendant, which is the self. It shakes things up in a good way. It could be a catalyst to unexpected new beginnings. Just things happen. Like if you're bored in your life, you go and visit a Uranus line.
Okay. Okay.
Type of thing.
Okay. I have a question, like where these two are crossed over here, where it's like Israel and Jordan, at
Mm-hmm.
that when they cross like that, does that mean anything more specific?
So if I put in the parent lines, you can see probably not because there's a lot going on there, but that's a crossing point. That's what will create a parent line in that area. So down here, over to the side, it'll show like this is a little Mercury moon crossing. And so it's those two energies, and it just creates that latitudinal line that will go all the way around the globe with that energy of the two combined.
Okay, gotcha. And so that same, like that crossing though, has the same effect within like that same 5 to 700 mile range that you were speaking of earlier.
The parent lines are only 75 miles.
Oh, okay, that's
Yeah.
right. Okay.
So that's it's it's easier if you're looking for somewhere to move to. It's a good idea to look at those lines because they can speak a lot into the energy that you're going to be in. And maybe if you have one that's more difficult, not spending a whole lot of time there.
Okay. Okay, gotcha. Um, so looking at the full chart again, and um well, like for me personally, like just because you have my chart, how are you able to look and tell me, because I know you're a travel agent as well. So, which I love the idea of creating travel along with looking at people's astrocartography. Like that is so brilliant and that just makes so much sense. Um, so like when you're looking at my chart, as far as family and adventure and fun like that, like how do you, I guess you would look at the house, right? Like whichever house the family is in and then follow through with that, or how does that work?
So do you mean like for other people that are in your family, or do you mean like just family energy?
Like
Like,
family energy.
okay, so supportive family energy. So it would be looking at the fourth house in your chart, and which is all about the family, and looking at what planets you have going on in there. And if I'm going to send somebody like, oh, I want to have a deep connection with my family, or wherever we relocate to or we're visiting, it would be looking and shifting their map. um, well, I usually ask them because people are very good at figuring out this stuff themselves. Intuitively, where do you think you should go? Because more often than not, when I've done readings and I've asked people those questions, one of the few places that they say is a very good hit that's
Right. Yeah.
beneficial. And
Yeah.
then I'll look at the relocated chart and see what planets are landing in that house, and then look at the map for that location and see what's going on with the different planetary lines. If they don't have an idea of like what might be a good place for that energy, or you know what to do, I'll look at maybe their chart and look at to see like where is their Venus, because that's usually a lovely energy. Where is their Jupiter that is in their chart? Is it near something that's expansive, that's going to bring love um
Right. Okay.
and better
Yeah.
positive
Yeah. Yeah. That
energy?
makes sense.
Yeah.
So looking at my chart, where like, can you show me how I would find the the Venus? Let's just go with that
Okay.
for love.
So let me back up on the map, and I'm gonna take these off so we can look at it better. And back up. Okay, so it would be more, so it depends on what type of Venus energy you're looking for. If you're looking for Venus energy that's like you want to feel beautiful and have beautiful surroundings of yourself, that would be a Venus ascendant line. And that would be somewhere on the sides over here. Sorry, I've got like our little screen. I have to move it out of the way. And okay, there's the descendant. So then we have the ascendant coming down. So that would be over here. Let's see. So we have the Venus ascendant. Yours is going through Brazil.
Okay.
And
And so that's interesting because I mean I haven't really thought about Brazil, but like I'm like also that's interesting.
that line also goes through upstate Maine.
Which I just visited over the summer.
Oh, awesome. Okay.
Yeah. And I really, my daughter and I, like, we really wanted to take, well, I really, kept thinking, I was like, I just want to go to like a cute little coastal village. I wasn't going there necessarily for a beach trip, but I wanted to be near the beach. And so we went to Maine and it was so incredible. And it actually filled my soul so much to go there.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so that's so fun that you just said that.
And you have a Jupiter line there too, which is very expansive and happy energy. So
Okay, yeah.
yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, because I definitely was there and it was very happy energy. Oh, that's so fun. So then for like, all right, so you said there's the Venus ascendant, but then there's also the Venus like let's just say with my lover man, right? Like if
Mhm.
I mean, because I'm married but like what part of the Venus, what would that be called?
So that would be the Venus descendant,
Okay.
because the descendant is your personal relationships,
Okay.
close one-on-one relationships. And I'm just looking to see where that plays out because usually if you follow it, it'll come out over here and yours is going through Australia.
Ooh, okay. Good to
And
know.
yeah,
And so is that the kind of thing that, like you were saying, like if, let's just say my husband and I took a trip that was to Australia, would that shift, like change our chart also?
yes.
Like
So
just like how Egypt would, me personally, that would shift our chart romantically.
yeah, you,
Okay.
you look at the relocated chart for wherever in Australia it is that you want to go to. And that'll tell you another layer of the story. So it's very much layers upon layers. So and it'll tell you everything about that location, pretty much. Not just how your relationship would be, but then you also take into account the other lines that come up on the map as well.
Yeah. So when someone books some time with you, is it best for them to have like a full reading, like a full, like, okay, this is everything, or is it better for them to come with you to you for like, let's just say my husband and I want to take a trip to Australia. Can you help me figure out exactly where and what part of Australia we should go and that kind of stuff? Like, how would you suggest that?
Yeah, either one. Actually, basically, most of my readings have been people just are curious. They want to know what their map looks like, and they're interested in maybe they're thinking about moving and where they should go, but they don't really have a set place.
Yeah.
So when I have that, I just have a little form that I send and it asks what areas are you interested in? What do you have any areas of your life you're interested in and also places? And then your birth information. And then you can add in like, I'm specifically looking at this place. Tell me more about it. And that is usually part of the whole reading because we go into everything.
Right. Yeah. Because it is so much information. Like I could ask you so many questions, but I feel like it really is very just deciding on exactly what I desire, which right now I don't really know. I will ask you this. We were supposed to take a trip to Italy this summer that got hijacked and we did not make it. Um, like looking at that, like is there something in the chart that was like, no, it's not supposed to happen? Or was it like it totally was supposed to happen and you failed? I'm a little bitter if you can't tell.
Yeah. That could also be a timing thing. But um interestingly, you have a node line that is going through Italy right here. And your node lines like I had said in the beginning, are very indicative of past life energy. Um, it's karma carrying, they're fated places. So, and everybody who I've talked to or looked at their map and looked at their node lines, they've had some kind of deep connection to that area. Um, Now, that doesn't say why your thing failed, but it's interesting. That was one of the places that I was going to tell you about your past life lines that you were going there. Yeah, that was probably a timing thing.
Okay.
Something transited over maybe your Mars. I'm not sure. That kind of
So what is so there's that line, because there's two lines, right, that are both going through the Italy area.
Mhm.
So what is that one right there where your marker is?
This is the Mars descendant.
Okay, so what does
So
that mean?
it's meeting others, personal relationships around Mars energy, which can be driving energy or it can be argumentative, kind of like warrior type energy.
Okay, that's funny because there was a lot of argument going here in Atlanta about that. So
But you also have a sun line over here. It's the sun MC, which MC is career and public image. So that could still be a good area for you, but
yeah,
it's definitely something to do with possible possible past life energy.
okay. Okay, because like I said, that was something that we were looking at with our family, a family trip. So, um, and I've often wondered, is this, am I supposed to do that trip more alone or, but I don't know. I kind of don't want to do it alone. I'd rather do it with my family. So I guess looking at that, it's so interesting. And I'm also been called to do, I've been working with Mary Magdalene, her energy and working with France and all of that. And I don't really see a lot of action over there though.
So I was going to bring that up too.
Oh, were you? Okay.
um, you have to remember that this line of influence is like 700,
Yeah.
but the energy is more 500.
Uh-huh.
And her energy is very much southern France,
Uh,
and that line is only 150 miles away from Marseille. So,
oh,
um,
okay.
yeah, it's very close. So this, when I say it could be Italy, then we look at the other side of this line and the orb of influence could go like all the way past all of France, really. I'm
Yeah.
sure. Yeah.
Okay. Very interesting. So is there any, I mean, because there's so many lines going everywhere. So is there an area where there's like no action where it's like, yeah, that region does not call your name at all? Like, I mean, I'm just really speaking because when you look at the whole world chart and there's so many lines everywhere, it's so hard to even decipher. But to put that question out there, like, I'm just curious to see where the chart's like, no, this one does not speak your name at all.
Maybe Upper Finland,
Okay,
in the Arctic Circle. Um, there's always going to be some kind of energy of some kind,
right.
usually. But oops, yeah, it's for some people, like this is your map. So for your map, it looks like you have a lot of energetic lines all over the place. There are some people who I've done readings for, and they have big blocks of space where there's nothing there.
Oh,
So, um, I mean, it's all individual and it's just your energy that you came into this planet with
yeah.
that is creating this.
Okay. So fascinating to me. Like now I see Colombia, and I've been very drawn to like go to Peru and Guatemala and so it's just interesting to see how these lines just come in and and what they mean, and explore it differently. So I guess like really having an understanding of your the symbols, right? Like understanding where your chart is, like that looks really, you removed all the little lines, right? So
Yeah.
that looks a lot better. Um yeah, it's just so interesting.
And you do have that another, because you have more than one node line. So this other one is going through Peru that you mentioned and up past Tulum over here as well.
Okay, yeah, and I've definitely been wanting to go to I've been to Tulum, but like when I was younger, but now, that I'm more connected to like my Mayan heritage, I've been really connected to go back there and heal a lot more of that and like learn more and just kind of connect to that past ancestral part of myself. So that's interesting that that runs right through there too.
Trying to back up out of the map so that you can see more of it.
Very interesting. I mean, it's so beautiful. And it's like now that I have a better understanding a little bit about it, it really is interesting.
And so, like we talked about the Venus line, for some people that like they want to activate their career, for instance, they want to go on a trip to work on a book or publish or something of that nature. There are planetary lines that will help with doing that kind of activity. Like I said, Mars is very driven. A lot of people go to those lines to work because it's not really relaxation, vacation energy so much in those areas.
Yeah.
So it really is dependent upon what people are looking for.
Yeah. That is amazing how that red line really goes straight through Atlanta.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
what about the blue line over there where it's like going through, what is that, Carta or
Over here in Indonesia.
yeah, what's that blue line meaning?
So that's your Uranus MC. That's Uranus energy around your career. So
And
it would make things very spontaneous, very exciting. Things could change, happen type of energy.
okay. All right. Which, that's where that blue line is. That's where like Bali and stuff like that, that is definitely on my radar to go explore, but also it's not like one of my more pressing, like I want to go, but there's so many other places that I want to go to as well before
And
that.
your moon MC line goes right through Bali.
Okay, so what does that mean?
And that's all about your career, but it's the moon. So it's mothering, it's nurturing, it's emotional, it's depth. So it is might be a great place for you to go to.
Yeah.
But
It'll
yeah,
be interesting to
I have
see like
places I want to go to, but I'm like,
yeah.
I can wait.
Yeah, like I feel like I will definitely make it there one day, but it's not like one of my more pressing. I think the Egypt thing needs to happen first so that everything can shift. And then from there, maybe then I'll be ready to mosey on over to that one. That's really beautiful. So fascinating.
Thank
It
you.
really is. Like there's just so much information and I just really am curious about understanding this more. And I definitely feel like I do. I feel like if looking at the chart right now and understanding how I can look at the symbols, and once I, kind of have my chart in comparison, because you're exactly right. So to print out your natal chart and then have everything right there beside you so you can reference. So would you suggest like even printing out like what I'm looking at right now? Or is it easier to be able to move things around?
So this, like, I'm looking at the entire map. It's not going to give you all the information. There are other lines. I didn't even get into midpoints and
Oh
angular
yeah.
lines and like all the other nuances that are in here. But the parent lines are also very important. So when I had all those yellow lines that were going across, if you printed it out like that, all you would see was like a big page of yellow and it wouldn't look like anything to you. So it's not really, yeah, it's more of like sitting down and doing it one on one, being able to like zoom in and figure out what is going on, because there you can go all the way down to the street level if you wanted to.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. That's amazing. Well, I cannot thank you enough for explaining this. I know it's got to be very, I mean, for me, like it's definitely like I'm soaking it in. Astrology is so much for my brain to comprehend anyway. But I'm trying to slowly but surely understand it and put it all together. And so I think pulling in this aspect of things is just another layer of fully understanding like how astrology can be so supportive. I mean, I'm such a fan of it. And so were you like were you already just working with astrology, or were you drawn to astro astrocartography more specifically, or what was your draw towards this?
So, actually, it's kind of funny. I had always really been interested in astrology, but I was like, it's too much. I can't do that. Like you were saying, like it's too much for my brain. I can't handle it. And a friend of mine did an astrology reading for me, and she looked at my chart and she's like, you've got like your sun in your ninth house of like travel um and Mercury, and you're not doing anything with it. You should be activating this area of your life. And so I was like, okay, I'll be a travel advisor. And then I was doing that and I was like, this isn't enough. I feel like it needs to be more. And then I had a reading with Tammy Lip, and she was like, you're supposed to be doing something else too. And at the same time, my friend who had done the reading was like, have you looked at astrocartography? So it just all kind of fell into place and all the pieces. And I was like, oh, wow. And then it just so happened that I went out one day, I think it was like around my birthday, and this woman who I'd been following was like, I'm doing a certification course on astrocartography and I'm opening it up tomorrow. And I was like, okay, that's my sign.
Happy birthday to you. Oh, that's incredible. How old are you?
44.
Oh, so did that happen when you turned 43? Or
Um, no, it was actually this year.
okay, so when you turn 40, because I have this theory about 43 year, like those years are transformational years, which, and so I was just curious, but that makes sense because your soul was in preparation for what was about to come your way. So that's so cool. I
Yeah,
love
and all the reading and everything I had had was when I was 43. So it was
Okay,
all
yeah,
kind of
yeah,
like,
yeah. So it was, yeah,
yeah.
that's so exciting. Well, I just love the way that you are going to be able to support. So tell me about your travel agent um support. Like how do you support people in that way?
In just the regular travel agency way.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
So I have a regular travel agent page, Magic Mom Travel, that I just, a lot of my stuff, I ended up, I started off because my kids love to go to Disney. And so I was like, oh, cool. I could just like kind of get discounts and stuff. And then all of a sudden it was like international. All I've been doing really is international travel, booking things that are beyond that, that are just like, my first booking that I did was for my friend sending her to her sunline. And we were looking at the energy and how she felt. And I was like, this is fantastic. So like I have kind of moved from, I still do just regular bookings where I'm helping people like, hey, I want to go on a vacation, but I'm kind of moving into that area of, I want more meaning to my wherever I'm going. I want to feel a certain way or send me to somewhere that I can work on this area. So that's kind of where I'm headed, but I do it all.
Yeah, I just think this is such a brilliant business model, like for you to expand on is to bring the astrocartography into your travel agency. I mean, that is just like brilliant. Because I so easily could just be like, hey, my family, we want to take a vacation this summer. This is what we want to feel. This is what we're looking to experience, and just give you some options. And then you just tell us where to go. And then that would take it so much easier. Like we know we're supposed to be there. Someone's helping us plan the trip. Like it's brilliant.
Thank you.
I'm so excited for everything that you are cultivating because I know this is fairly new to you as well, right? Like, yeah, obviously you just
Yeah.
got trained and certified, so but it feels like the wheels are moving so fast for you, and that's super exciting. So I'm celebrating you, and I definitely will be using your services somewhere along the way. So I'm
Thank
really excited
you.
that we're connected and to connect you to our audience so that they can understand this on a deeper level, and also at the same time understand how confusing it is. And to know that there are people that can support them. Because, like I said, even when I tried to do it on my own and I was like, I can figure it out, like look at some YouTube videos, I was like, hard no, like this makes no sense to me. So, highly 10 out of 10 recommend hire a professional, hire Kylene because I can tell you're just so passionate about understanding this for yourself and teaching it to everybody else.
Thank you. Yeah. It's definitely not easy for a layperson to just sit down and be like, I'm gonna look it up in a book or
Uh,
on Instagram.
yeah, definitely not. Definitely not. But thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us today and helping us to better understand this. I know it's been so supportive for me. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And
Bye.
I will make sure that I have all the ways that people can connect with you and book with you. I know we were talking before, like Instagram's just a great way just to, go message you on Instagram and, either find your link through there. So I'll make sure I have all of that in the show notes and we can stay connected there. So thanks everybody for listening and thank you, Kylene, for your time today.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.